It's Friday, April 1st, 2022, and this is Den Excelsior, the Mostly Marvel podcast. I'm Dennis, and I'll be your host as we review the latest Marvel happenings across all media, as well as other superpowered stories that caught our attention. And when I say we, I'm referring to my wonderful co-host, Ricky. I'm just going to get him out here right now.
Wow, I've never been introduced second.
Yeah, and now you probably have, but only when Frank's not here. But just to get this out of the way, we're sad to report that Frank has actually stepped down from his co-hosting duties to make space for pursuing other projects. But he's promised to drop in from time to time, so he's not gone forever. But I think Frank would probably like it if we just said instead he just got Me Too'd or something like that. Like that's the way he would like to go out, is just getting canceled.
Yeah, so we officially canceled Frank.
He was always afraid of getting canceled every week, so there it is. Frank got canceled. But honestly, I'm pretty sure the real truth is he didn't want to watch Morbius this week. And that's
the ultimate cop-out.
He's like, you know what? I quit the show, guys. I'm not watching Morbius. And so, but yeah, it's a funny one because aside from Frank not being here, we have no guest planned for this week. And, that it's okay because we have a lot to get through, but at the same time, it's gonna be a weird one because it's just me and Ricky.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just get to what I was gonna say. The formalities and stuff. As advertised, we'll be putting spotlights on Moon Knight and
double
Morbius.
Header, baby.
We're doing a double feature, yeah. And that's kind of why we didn't want to get a guest this week. We were kind of concerned about making somebody go to the theaters to see Morbius and watch Moon Knight all before the show. But we were willing to do it for you guys, for your entertainment. But before we do that, before we talk about both of those shows, which, by the way, in case you're worried, we're going to say Morbius for last. So if you want to hang out for the Moon Knight conversation, and then, dip out for Morbius so we don't spoil it for you, that's a way you can do it. Or you can check back around like 9 o'clock if you want to skip the Moon Knight.
If you're dying for the best part of the show, the Morbius part.
Yeah. But, we will have nerd news to discuss a little bit before that. And then for those of you joining us live, don't be shy. We'll be checking the comments regularly. And if you can't get enough of us, you should visit patreon.com/DanXmedia, where you'll find a variety of creative offerings, including recent episodes of our live show, The Soapbox. Our live after show.
You can catch up on all the Frank content that's there.
Yeah, exactly. Patrons get exclusive access to chat with us on Friday nights usually. But if that's not your thing, don't worry. It goes live, the following week. We will not be doing an episode of The Soapbox tonight because Ricky and I need to get ready because we're going to go to WonderCon tomorrow. And so we wanted to make sure we weren't staying up till the wee hours of the night for this.
Yeah, we want to make sure our COVID is well rested. So.
I'm clean. Still. Still clean.
I think I'm clean. I hope so.
Oh man. But yeah, I guess before we get into the news, what have you been nerding out on other than Moon Knight and Morbius?
I've been nerding out at Home Depot.
You just moved, right?
I moved. Partner and I moved to Northern Long Beach to a condominium, and I guess when you buy something, you gotta take care of it, unlike renting.
That's
true. That's been fun, painting the house and setting everything up. We're still in the process of doing it. That's why I'm in the dark right now. But
you're in the dark on the ghetto microphone.
But we'll make it work for the 1 week, and we'll get through it. But it's been fun. I mean, reality is I haven't really been doing anything. Literally, in lieu of hiring moving trucks, we move stuff piece by piece throughout the week. And
that's exhausting.
Yeah, it gets you pretty tired. You get a little sleepy after doing that.
Yeah. Well, you get a good night's rest tonight because we're gonna be done probably around before
Yeah.
10. We'll be done before 10.
I don't know. What'd you do for the past 2 weeks?
Past 2 weeks, man, those are a blur. I went to the zoo. I had a COVID scare a week before that, but to celebrate not getting COVID, then we went to the zoo. That was pretty fun. That was like my first time out in like a massive amount of people, but everybody was masked up and stuff, you know.
One
So
of my earliest memories I have is when we went to the zoo as kids and you were there. And I remember you saying, "Man, that monkey needs a bra." For
I feel
some
like
reason, that memory is just—it's a core memory for me of you
I
saying
feel
that.
like my whole life is people telling me core memories of awesome, funny things I said that I don't remember saying. But I believe it. I believe it. I probably said it. That's fair. Yeah, I definitely saw massive amounts of dong at the zoo this
Yeah,
week.
it's that time of year. It's
It
it's
was, oh man, just
um
rhinos and elephants just hanging
for
dong all
for
over the
those of you who
place.
don't know, I actually used to work at the San Diego Zoo. My first job, and I moved to San Diego, and this time of year was just like baby time for every type of animal. And yeah,
It was impressive. It was impressive. There were some animals where I'm like, I'm not impressed, but
oh, the bonobos, man. That trust me, bonobos get crazy.
yeah, yeah. But no, other than that, I've just been, I think, just geeking out on uh, Moon Knight action figures, and uh, I guess D&D.
Hmm.
I went a little crazy on D&D today, doing some actual research into my character, and so I plan to do some nutty things next week. We'll see.
I feel
We'll
like I
see.
should do that too. Study up on how to play Rogue. I've actually tried finding stuff how to play Rogue, and there's not a lot of videos out there that I could find. A lot of it's reading,
Yeah,
which is fine. Not that I'm
it
against
is
reading,
it
but I
is
just want it
reading.
on in the background.
I
Like, oh,
see.
you could do this, this, and this. I'm like, okay.
I can find you. I have a guide that I use that's pretty cool because it's color coded, so you can
Sign
uh,
me up, even better.
like it color codes basically the stuff that you should be taking versus the stuff you shouldn't be taking. So it's very helpful for that. But yeah, what do you say? You
Yeah,
want to do some
let's
news?
roll into some news. We have some stuff this week.
All right.
All right.
Let's do it.
This is probably the biggest news of the past 2 weeks. Not much has happened, surprisingly, but this is kind of the one thing that came out and resolved itself all in the matter of the 2 weeks. So, late last month, people were noticing that episodes of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier were censored. Specifically, I want to say it was episode 2 where they go visit Doctor Nagel, and there's blood and Bucky throws a pipe at a dude and it pins him in the arm. All that was censored out, and people were kind of like freaking out. What is this? Oh no, they're censoring old content. And long story short is those files were uploaded on accident. And while they haven't come out and said exactly what those files are for, it's pretty safe to assume that those are just, if you set your Disney Plus setting to kids only, that is the version of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier you're going to get versus a no filter setting, you get the blood. But I think that's kind of cool. We're at the point now where technology, you can have the same show base. You have like the airplane edit on demand,
Yeah.
without actually doing anything.
Yeah, no, I know. Frank actually he brought this to my attention the other day as one of the reasons he was getting upset with Disney Plus and not wanting to watch Moon Knight. And when I looked into this, I was just like, I looked into it before they had responded to say this
Hmm.
was this was an error on their part, right? Their software had accidentally uh, changed all of the existing stuff to be the censored versions, but they said they were quickly fixing that so that it'd be back to normal. And before that response came out, Frank was telling me I'm not liking what Disney Plus is doing. And at first I only found like one scene, and then he started telling me it was more than that. And I was like, I felt a little weird about it because it's their content. They can do whatever they want with it. Two, George Lucas ruined uh, everything for me. He really did. Ever since he charged me money to go see a shittier version of Star Wars, and then charged me more money again years later
I'm
to see,
I'm
see
surprised
another
that
shittier
hasn't
version.
been like a May 4th announcement of like, hey, the despecialized or the original Star Wars is out there, you know? That
Yeah,
seems like it's just
that's
waiting. Like they have it, obviously, you know.
yeah. Uh, they had to do a lot of restoration to it to get it to be good, but you know what I mean. Like I can't really care as much anymore after
Mhm.
I've seen that injustice done on the most global scale to us. Like we have to have an argument. You know, Han shot first is a thing that it exists in pop culture now,
The
and
McClunky.
and it never existed before. You know what I mean? So like, if Disney wants to go and change a lead pipe that impales somebody to just be a lead pipe that hits somebody, I'm like, whatever. You know, it doesn't. Because my third point is, it doesn't take away from my enjoyment of when I watch that show. I'm not the kind of guy that goes back and rewatches a lot of stuff, so
Like I
I
don't think
wouldn't
I
have
would be
found
one to
this.
notice, you know.
Exactly. I wouldn't have noticed anyways, probably. So, but I am happy that it was righted for everybody who felt wronged, and now you can watch the
Well,
version you
yeah,
can
you can
watch.
have you have everyone has a lane now, and it
Yeah,
gives people more creative control on, you know,
yeah.
if they want a bloody John Walker scene, then they can have it. But now we can make it,
I do think that's
yeah,
really cool that you
yeah,
can have one or the other, and you don't have to
because you know,
lose. You don't have to lose. You don't have to have the whole show taken away from you. You know what I mean?
without like, sorry, this ambulance is behind me. Without like sounding gatekeepy, I mean, these are ostensibly superhero shows. Kids are gonna watch these. You know,
Yeah,
sometimes you don't want your kid seeing a dude's blood all over the
yeah.
street.
But there's a pretty good chance they have no way of fixing it for Daredevil. So, um,
Yeah,
so
no
you just don't get to watch those. Is probably
hallway
what
scene.
happens. Yeah. I can think of way worse. I was thinking of season 2, all the sex scenes with Elektra, but sure,
Yeah.
sure, the hallway scenes too.
Well, on the censorship train, a little update, actually interview. So Todd McFarlane was kind of doing a little spot on interview with Shartimus, a toy
Shartimus
reviewer,
Prime,
Shartimus
Shartimus
Prime,
Prime.
a toy reviewer on YouTube. And in the interview, he's kind of dropping little nuggets on how he wasn't naming names, but he was essentially saying that big toy manufacturers were leaning more towards no guns in their products and their toys. And I think where it got interesting is so McFarlane Toys, they're responsible for all the DC stuff right now, right?
Yeah, they
And
have the DC license. Yeah, they have
they
the DC license.
I'll just pull up some examples. Like here is the Suicide Squad toys with Peacemaker and Bloodsport with swords. Do you remember them having swords in that movie?
I do remember them having machetes, I thought at some point, but definitely not swords.
Um,
Um,
no, I just kind of
that's
want your take
that's
on this.
weird.
So, I mean, as the
Well,
toy collector of the two of us.
it's pretty funny because I've followed Shartimus off and on throughout the years,
Hmm.
and I know this is something that's a nitpick of his, a big hang up of his, is because it's not just the DC license. I've seen it a lot with Marvel.
Hmm.
Marvel, when possible, Marvel Legends will come with sci-fi style guns. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I think it's a push just because there's a lot of conversations about violence in media and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
so I think companies are trying to do whatever they can to be responsible. Um, you know,
I feel like when
about the
bad shit
message,
happens, no one
about
wants
the
to be the one
message.
they're
Yeah,
pointed at, right? Like,
exactly. But about the message they're putting out there. But here's the specific thing about the Marvel ones, though. I said whenever possible, but a lot of times, like when the character like is like a very military type character or something, like for example, like Winter Soldier
mhm,
or
Punisher.
or the Punisher. Yeah, the Punisher's the best example. They come with realistic looking guns. They just
Mhm.
do because it's core to their character. You know what I mean? Um, so like Deadpool, sometimes they'll give him guns that kind of look like Nerf squirt guns, and then it's funny because then they'll actually go and make a Nerf gun that's Deadpool
Yeah.
branded, that's the exact same gun, and you're like, oh, that's funny. He's carrying a Nerf gun. Um, so yeah, it's I get what they're doing, and it is a weird line to walk because it's I think it's part of it's a big reason why the GI Joe brand has had a hard time uh
Well,
reaching
it's like
the
the idolizing the military thing is it's not as
exactly.
in vogue as today as it was back then.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, but do I have like Tupperwares filled with real military guns? Yeah. I also have Tupperwares filled with
Mhm.
sci-fi guns and stuff, and I keep them
To
separate. And
Todd's credit, he kind of
you know,
said, the workaround, and he said they're actively working on it, is just release weapons packs with weapons that fit the people that are
yeah,
non-licensed.
yeah, you can do that, or you can go on Amazon
Mhm.
or eBay or Mercari or whatever, and you can find those kind of things too. People make scaled weapons for those types of things. But I think to get back to the McFarlane one and the Suicide Squad one, I think when it gets weird though is when you start um, taking rated R properties
Mhm.
and trying to market them to kids. You know what I mean? Like then it just looks disingenuous in some way. Like it's like, okay, you want the kids' money, even though you know the kids aren't supposed to be watching this movie. And so, you know what I mean? Like, is this toy for who is this toy for?
Yeah.
Is the real question.
Well, it's like I feel like you can get away with it now more so that, I mean, how often do you go to the store and buy toys, right? I think this
I
is
don't. I
specifically a
don't.
problem for toys that are on a shelf. At the end of the day, there's not a collectibles section in a Walmart, right? There is the toy section where this lives. And if you're
Yeah.
browsing the toy section, maybe the dude with guns doesn't sell as well as a
Are
Spider-Man.
Are you sure there's not a collectible section? There's a collectible section at Target.
I think there's a Funko section, right?
Target has like a kids toys section, and then they have
Hmm.
like a full on like adult collectors section.
But
Anyways,
I
yeah,
think it's all this. It's kind of the same thing, though, right? Like there's it's on a shelf next to other kid
yeah.
toys. You got to make it kid attractive, kid
But then the
adjacent.
but the other thing that comes into play is like, are you an inbox collector or an out of
Oh
box
my god.
collector? Because if you're an inbox collector, I would be furious to have this Peacemaker with a sword. You know what I mean? If you're an out of box collector, you can fix it real easy. Just give them somebody else's gun, and there you go. You're done. You know.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Interesting,
I
nonetheless.
I'm not mad at the companies for
No, it makes
wanting,
sense.
you know,
Like,
yeah.
but
I get it. I
you got
get it.
if you really want guns with your toys, go buy like a hot toy. Yeah,
Exactly.
but just
Yeah.
money, like most problems, you can solve with money.
Exactly. Yes. And speaking of spending money on to solve your problems, I think that the only other news we have is
Yeah, maybe your
a
little
bunch of Marvel merch.
Marvel merch. What are you
All
getting?
right. So we haven't been here for 2 weeks. And so there's been a handful of Marvel Legends that have gone up for pre-order or been revealed or whatever. So I think last week or in the middle of the week, the Hasbro team wanted to let us know about another addition to the VHS style X-Men 90s animated series figures. And so the new one is Jean Grey, who comes with both heads. She comes with a ponytail and her hair down. I think she looks a lot like the character from the show. And
I have a confession to make.
What's up?
After 5 movies with Jean Grey, I don't know what her powers are. What does she do?
She is
Is she like Professor X?
no, Professor X has only one of her two powers. She has two powers. They're two
Telekinesis, right?
and telepathy.
Okay,
Professor X only has telepathy.
I see.
Yeah, telekinesis is the big one, which makes her incredibly dangerous because she's supposedly one of the most powerful telekinetics in the world. So yeah, she can manipulate objects with her mind. So telepathy is all about connecting one mind to another,
Yeah,
and doing that. But yeah, she can do both. And then
she
when she has the Phoenix, it's like amplified times a billion.
super telepathy.
Yeah, it's super everything. Yeah. So
This
uh,
dude looks super.
yeah. So by the way, that Jean Grey is only available for pre-order on HasbroPulse.com. And then this one is Ulik. He's a Thor character. He's a Thor villain from the comics. He's a troll, and because there's what the 9 realms or whatever in Thor's world, and so, or in Thor's story and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So Ulik actually has been made once before as a Marvel Legend, but he was only available in the exclusive San Diego Comic-Con. I don't know, like
The raft
2017.
set.
No, it was the Thor set. It
Oh,
was
the
the
circle
one with
thing.
Lady Thor
Yeah.
and his grandfather Boar, and yeah, it was all of those. But so they decided to finally re-release that figure, but with new head sculpts, new hands, and a weapon. And he became available last Friday exclusively at Walmart online. He's a Walmart Collector Con exclusive figure, and he's slated to come out in July 16th. He's big. He's a really big figure, and he's priced at $36.97. Such a weird price tag. But
Yep.
if you're a big Thor fan and you never got Ulik from San Diego Comic Con, this is the way to do it. So there you go. I kind of like him. I like the screaming face. That thing is cool looking. Honestly,
Yeah.
both head sculpts are new. The older one from Comic Con is not nearly as expressive as either of these.
It's like he's just like a big Hulk.
He's a troll, dude. He's a troll. And then today, for April Fools, they had to clarify that this is not a joke. Hasbro revealed the next figure in the Infinity Ultron Build-A-Figure wave. It is an entire Disney Plus themed wave of figures, and they revealed Moon Knight from the new TV show that premiered this week. I think this figure looks great. It's a 3D, it's a digital render, but I think he looks good. I think he looks like the one we saw on the show.
Can't wait to put a cloth cape on him.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we've already seen only 2 figures so far from this wave. It's Hawkeye and Kate Bishop. Those are already available for pre-order, and they're saying that Moon Knight goes up for pre-order on Tuesday. Sorry, not next Tuesday. Tuesday, April 12th.
I'm sure by the end of next week we'll have a Mr. Knight figure, right?
I don't know if we're gonna get 2, but we'll see. We'll see.
Look good though.
Yeah, I think it looks good. But if this is not what you like in your Moon Knight, if you want something a little bit pricier, I decided to dig up some other Moon Knight merch that's available right now. This is the Iron Studios Moon Knight statue. This thing's like almost 12 inches tall. Weighs about 1.5 pounds, I think 1.5 pounds. This thing is $160 and is going to be released in the 4th quarter of this year. It's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive. I don't think he actually lights up. I didn't see that among the features, but it's possible. I don't know. I don't think he does. Yeah, but he looks pretty cool. I think there's definitely some special effects going on there to make it look like he does, but I'm not sure that it actually does.
Huh.
And then if that's still not enough money to spend on your Moon Knight, Then Hot Toys revealed theirs, I believe today actually, but they just revealed the picture of him. They did not say when he's available to order, and they did not say how much he is, but it's a
You'll see
pretty
him
damn
in
impressive.
2 years.
It's a damn impressive looking figure, though. I gotta admit, and that one
Uh,
comes with a cloth cape. So there you
yeah,
go.
no,
And
that's the one to get.
it's even got like the little like the hieroglyphs and stuff on the cape. Look at that. That's really cool. Um, yeah, he's probably going to be like $300.
Oh
So,
my god.
but then I did want to show, just in case you did want a hot toy that is available for pre-order, and the price is already up. They did it. They made Richard E. Grant's classic Loki from the second to last episode
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
Loki. Yeah. He looks amazing, man. It looks exactly like
It's a
him.
pretty good sculpt.
It's pretty good, and that you get the costumes full ridiculousness all the way through. I love it. This thing is definitely $300. So I will not be buying this ever. But
You know
go
what? I'm
out
kind of
there if you
excited.
can.
We're going to WonderCon tomorrow, and there's always like that booth that has all like the resale Hot Toys. But like in the back corner of that booth, it's like the bootleg Hot Toys. Like if you want like the crazy head sculpts of like actors who like any actor that you want, they got them there. Like I have like my bootleg Ryan Gosling Drive Hot Toys figure there.
You'll have to show me that one because I don't know.
Like it
I
says
don't
like
remember the
driven
layout.
on the box, but there's
Oh, nice.
it's
Nice.
always like the sketchy side booth that has it.
Yeah,
So.
I used yeah, it's interesting. Do they get the likenesses officially, or are they just doing it like
Blonde guy, I think is how they
unofficial?
go. Oh, it's totally unofficial. Like
Okay, gotcha.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
because I had a friend back in the day that worked at he used to work at the Real Doll Factory,
oh gosh.
and I used to be like, yo, so can I get a Natalie Portman doll? And just joking, and he was like, no, I can't do that unless you have her express permission. And I'm like, okay, what if it's like Natalie Portman but with a mole? Like I don't know at what
Like how
point.
different is it's like the
Yeah,
ship of Theseus? Like how many
yeah,
features do
exactly.
you have to remove?
At what point is it good enough? So I'm curious about that. You'll have to show me that booth because I'm curious to see what the bootleg versions of celebrity figures look
Oh, they're
like.
good. They're so good.
All right,
That's the
I'll see.
news though. I mean,
That's all we got.
that's all we
That's all we
got.
got. It's 2 weeks. 2 weeks. We took a good 2 weeks off because not a lot happened as far as superpowered stuff going on. But if there is stuff that we missed, you can always let us know. You can always hit us up on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook and let us know about any news coming out that you want us to talk about. And we'll try and bring it up next week on the show. Yeah, there you go.
Let's get into
So
some Moon
I
Knight.
think it's time for round one of our spotlights. All right, we're doing it. We're putting the first spotlight on Moon Knight, and the reason we're doing it is not favoritism. It's just that it's way easier for
It's been out
everybody.
longer.
It's been out longer, and it's way easier to watch because it's only 47 minutes. And officially Morbius came out today, so you had to jump through some hoops if you saw it before today. So we wanted to make sure that this is still an accessible show for people who are tuning in. So we're talking about Moon Knight for the next half hour or so. And then, if you're still around when we get to the Morbius thing,
We'll talk about
that's up to you whether or not you want those spoilers. But we're going to warn you right now. We're about to spoil episode 1 of Moon Knight, which came out this Wednesday on Disney Plus. I'll start with the quick synopsis of the episode. The series follows Stephen Grant, a mild-mannered gift shop employee who becomes plagued with blackouts and memories of another life. Stephen discovers he has dissociative identity disorder and shares a body with mercenary Mark Spector. As Stephen and Mark's enemies converge upon them, they must navigate their complex identities while thrust into a deadly mystery among powerful gods of Egypt. There you go.
That's a Moon Knight right there.
Yeah, that was kind of the synopsis for the entire season. But like honestly, that really covers the entire first
Yeah,
episode really
you checked
well.
all the bases there.
I kind of dug that. Like, if you go back and watch the trailers of the show, like 95% of the trailers are in this episode.
Hmm.
Like it was, and I
Well,
love that. I love when they
except
show.
for all the shots of Moon Knight, because
Yeah. Well, that's I'm saying 95. There's not a lot of Moon Knight in the shots in the trailers. In the first trailer, it's pretty much the same shot of him
yeah,
at the end. But I really appreciate that we got all of the stuff from the trailers pretty much out of the
yeah.
way, so that we can now be completely surprised for the next 5 weeks. Um,
Well,
but yeah,
I think off the bat, it's worth noting. So this is the first Disney Plus show where they're introducing a character, right?
on his own.
On his own. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
A new headliner, a new.
There, there you go. Yeah,
We got a whole new superhero to play with.
yeah, because I mean, you're otherwise, yeah, you have to clarify your statement because otherwise you're doing Major Goodner injustice. You know what I mean?
That was Frank.
We got Major Goodner, a year ago,
All
and
over a year ago.
yeah, over a year ago. But no, you're right. It is the first. So typically all the new Marvel characters have been launched outside of Netflix.
Hmm.
All of the new Marvel characters have been launched in their own movies or something like that. And so this is the first time we're getting a show that's going to be the origin story of a character that Kevin Feige and the Disney crew have promised will then later appear in the movies. And I think that's really cool because like I think origin stories should be told on TV.
No,
Uh,
100% with. I won't say all, but I think a character with not to say that all characters don't have the same level of complexities, but you're playing with a lot of different themes here. The mental condition that he has and the duality of him, that it just lends itself so much better to a show rather than having it all trying to
yeah.
get
By the
crammed
way,
into a movie.
I think duality is going to come back to bite you in the ass because I'm pretty sure there's at least four. I think there's at least four personalities in there. But yeah,
At the time of this recording.
at the time of this recording, there's at least three. There's at least three.
But I mean, I don't even know where to begin. Like, I think we're both pretty positive on it all, right? Like,
I freaking love this show. Like, I was pretty excited going in because I love Oscar Isaac.
mhm.
But to come out of that episode knowing that the first episode is pretty much 100%, no, sorry, like 90 something percent Oscar Isaac. There's only like one scene that doesn't have Oscar Isaac in it, and it's
Mhm.
the very first scene
Yeah,
of the show, right?
but you got Ethan Hawke instead.
I love, and that's the other thing. I love Ethan Hawke. I love him. Fun fact: did you know that he's actually their neighbors? They're neighbors in real life,
No,
and
that's pretty cool.
Oscar Isaac invited his neighbor to come be on the show with him.
That's
Like,
pretty awesome.
yeah, and that's how you ended up with Ethan Hawke playing Arthur Harrow.
Like, I mean,
Uh,
just to get them or the two of us, not to say the MCU hasn't had obviously talented actors, but actors of a certain caliber in them. But to get someone to commit to a show is it's a harder sell. It's like, hey, don't come to the superhero movie with me. Come to the superhero show with me. That's not going to premiere on network TV.
yeah, no,
You know,
exactly. Um,
um,
I just think it's cool though because
but
like
to
he,
just in start the introduction with Steven and the way they frame everything, how it's a very Steven centric episode, and you're kind of discovering as with him the other side of his personalities.
yeah,
And they peel the band-aid so well, or that you get a sense of what's happening, but you really don't know what's happening. We really don't know what's happening when he's Mark, aside from he maybe turns into Moon Knight. But that whole side of him is just still a mystery to us, and I kind of love it. I kind of like it.
yeah. Now, how much do you know about the character in the comics?
Um, just the base. I like the basic origin. Mark was Left for Dead, right? He makes a deal to be the avatar for Khonshu, and that's how he was for a while, right? Until because the split personality thing is a fairly new trait of his in the comics, right?
Um, I don't think it's that new. It's not as new as you think.
Hmm.
Uh, but I mean, I don't think it because fresh out of the gate, I think his first appearance was in a Werewolf by Night comic
Yeah.
book. So you didn't really get to know everything about him. You got to meet Mark, and you got to meet Moon Knight, but I think Steven came into play much later in the stories, and so what's and then another character, Mr. Knightley, even more recently. But what's really funny is like the framing of this show is because the comic book has always been focused on Mark.
Yeah.
Mark is the main character, and then Moon Knight is the person that he becomes when because of this contract he made with the god Khonshu. And so what I think the show has done really well or really fun is because I always appreciate when the MCU stories, what they try to do is there's a million ways you can tell the same superhero story over and over again. But what the MCU tries to do whenever possible is they try to tell the story in a different way that makes it fun for new fans and old fans. And so for me, as somebody who knows a little enough about Moon Knight,
Hmm.
watching it told through the frame of this tertiary character in their
Yeah.
in their whole thing, I was like, oh, so you're not going with Mark?
Well, Steven
Okay,
is
okay.
a character from the comic, but the way he's portrayed in the comics is super different from the show, right? From my understanding.
I believe so. I don't believe he's a gift shop employee at the museum.
A little bit higher aspirations
in the
in the
but yeah,
comics.
but the confusing thing is because like Mark is a mercenary who lives in New York.
Hmm.
So what we're seeing right now is and clearly we did get to see Mark briefly in this show,
Yeah.
and we got to also be exposed to the fact that Mark does not speak with an English accent.
Yeah.
Like he speaks with an American accent. And so so this show just sets up all these questions that I am going to have so much fun watching them be answered over the next 5 weeks, right? Which is like, okay, if Mark is the primary one, why are they letting Steven have an apartment in London and have a job at the museum?
Hmm.
And like
But
I
isn't
feel
that
like there's
also
a
part of that the whole Moon Knight thing is we don't even know if the Khonshu thing is real, right? Like that's
well, okay, so there have been storytellers who have made that questionable. Like I think it was Charlie Houston did a
Mhm.
run on Moon Knight in the early 2000s where it made you wonder, like it made Mark question everything that he thought he knew to be true, right? But
Mhm.
I don't think this show is choosing to go in that direction. I think this show is making it very clear that Khonshu is a real thing, and that's fine. Like that's fine because like we want superheroes, right? We don't
Yeah.
want like it worked for that one storyline in the comics in the 2000s where like fans of Moon Knight are like, wait a second, is everything that I thought was true not true? Like that works for that. But that's just one story. And then later on, there's tons of other stories that negate that and say, no, for reals. There's a God, there's Khonshu and stuff like that. So it's not, I don't think that's gonna be a thing. I think maybe at some point Steven will question.
We'll challenge
I mean,
it. That'd be kind of cool.
Steven's already questioning the reality of everything right now, right? As he
Yeah.
watches it. And I think that was the most fun part about that is watching Oscar Isaac play Steven. He was such a mousy character who was just like constantly like making himself small in front of other
Really
people.
like bumbly. Just bumbles around the
He's
whole.
he's he's quite he's quite an amazing actor, man, because like if you think about the volume of his work, like no character he's played ever feels the same as another character. Do you know what I
I
mean?
mean,
Like
Apocalypse was not the same as any other character he's played.
yeah, exactly. But neither was Poe Dameron or even Spider-Man 2099 in like the few seconds he has at the end of that of Into the Spider-Verse, but also Ex Machina, such a different character. Like,
Yeah.
and it's really fun to see an actor that can just like really dive into it and just be so much. So
He's
I'm
not a
really excited.
typecast character for sure. He
Yeah,
he puts in the work.
yeah. But I mean, did he make you like him in well the one aspect of him? I mean, we're gonna get to see
Oh no,
multiple
I
aspects of him.
love Steven. I loved his little mannerisms, like because he without like they they didn't play his shortcomings with what he's dealing with as like I don't say as a joke, you know.
Yeah,
Um, they
yeah.
were
They're playing it
very
seriously.
they were
He's
pretty tame, and his condition wasn't you being used as the punchline. You got to kind of see how someone with that, like, oh shit, that you would totally
it's hurting his
it's
life.
yeah, it would
Yeah,
mess up your life. Like it's not a
yeah,
funny thing, you missing time or
yeah.
forgetting who you are and jumping other places. And I mean, granted,
He
this is dialed to 11,
he
but
lost days. He lost days. He
and
went
like
from he went from Thursday to Sunday.
but just like even the fact that he's like tying himself to his bed and he has all these little rituals before he goes to bed to make sure that he doesn't get out of bed,
Yeah.
and just to see him still struggle or still fail at controlling it, it's kind of heartbreaking. Like you feel for him.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because like, right now in the story, I think he thinks he's just sleepwalking.
Yeah,
And so it's going to be a little bit of time before he fully understands he's not sleepwalking.
like
So,
we're getting the episode where Mark, like the Mark perspective of,
yeah. So that's my question. Are we going to get the same like so let me rewind that for a second. I thought it was really interesting. Like, unlike most superhero stories, we got the villain right away at the beginning
Mhm.
of the story, and then he shows up in the middle of the story, and then he shows up at the end of the story. And he's a very clear threat by the end of the first episode. I mean, we still have 5 episodes to go. And so, what I thought was interesting is, are we going to see this done? Are we going to see this done differently than other stories where is next week just going to be retelling this episode, but from the Mark perspective? And then the week after, is it going to be retelling it from
I don't
somebody
know if I
else's
would
perspective?
like. I would. The Mark perspective would be cool for next week, but I don't know if I want the flip floppiness to keep going.
No,
Although
but
the,
what but what I'm saying is it
Mhm.
possible that we've already seen the beginning, middle, and end of the entire story, and we're
Oh,
just
okay,
you know what I'm saying?
we're like gonna
Like
memento it basically.
like what if the entire story is taking place over these few days, but we're going to get different parts of it throughout the week, and then maybe there's a little bit more than the fight at the end of the bathroom. There's more than that, but you know what I mean? Because like to go to from just being a mild mannered dude who's like tying himself up in bed to at the end fighting a full on jackal monster, that's a pretty big escalation. You know what I mean? Like that's
Like
that's not the
pretty
werewolf we thought
soon,
it
he's gonna
was.
be in a place without any mirrors, so he's gonna have to
Yeah,
figure out how to talk to himself.
that was a jackal god, dude. Like that was crazy. Like, and I was pretty shocked to see that. Um,
Yeah, I
yeah.
guess. I guess. I wonder how they explain the god aspect of it, because in the Marvel universe there are gods, right? Like the pantheon of the Greek gods are a thing, the Egyptian gods are a thing.
Yeah, in the Marvel universe, all the pantheons exist.
Mhm.
Every single one exists all together. So
But in the
like
MCU, I don't think they've definitively said there's gods. There's godlike creatures.
they've called the Norse ones God several
Yeah, but
times.
in the light of in the context of the MCU, they're just higher powered aliens in a sense.
Depending on who you ask. If you ask
Yeah,
the Norse people, they're
this
gods.
is
You know what I
normal
mean?
people.
No, I said the Norse people.
Norse people,
Yeah,
yes. So
yeah,
I'm curious on how, if they do that route with this, or if they are strictly like, yeah, no, these are deities.
yeah. Well, I mean, I know that Thor 4 comes out in, in 2 months, 3 months from now, or something like that.
Hmm.
And supposedly Zeus is in that, right?
Yeah. So
So I am excited at the fact that we're getting the Egyptian gods, the Egyptian pantheon, or the Ennead, as he referred to them, uh, in this show, and then maybe we're gonna get Zeus and possibly Hercules later, and then we could get other ones later down the line, like Native American ones, whatever. I think it's cool because like there's it opens up the Marvel universe to a lot. And that's the thing I think I appreciated the most about watching this episode is this episode did nothing to reference or lean on the larger MCU. It
no
didn't need to.
blip,
It didn't
no,
need to at all.
no,
No
nothing,
Thanos, no
no cap
Eternals,
shield.
no Eternals, no Captain America, no Winter Soldier, nothing. Supposedly there's a tie-in later down the line, but I thought it was really cool that it's like this story stands on its own, and you get to just experience a fun story. And at this point, like you're 13 years deep. If you can't just enjoy a Marvel story for being far out and having crazy superpowered stuff, like what do you even why are you tuning in?
I
Why are you
mean, yeah.
tuning in?
Why are you subscribing to Disney Plus at that point?
Exactly. Yeah. So I will say, as somebody who was not a fan of Moon Knight going in, I desperately want to read Moon Knight comics this weekend, just to like have more, to know more, because I enjoyed the crap out of this episode. It was probably like I said earlier, we spent the better part of this year just talking about Peacemaker and DC and saying how like, dude, everything that comes after Peacemaker, that's the bar. And somehow I found myself still fully enjoying Moon Knight. Like it just got to be a separate thing. Moon Knight was more serious, obviously, like than
Yeah,
Peacemaker. So it tonally it was different enough that I didn't have to compare it one to one.
but it's different from. I think it's each of the Disney Plus shows have been different, and this is another take on one of the superheroes, and that's what I liked. It's the way I mean, this is a very beautiful episode. The framing devices that they use, all the reflections, is super neat.
Yeah.
Um, so I just like that we're just like how the movies have been all different flavors. Like the shows are different flavors too. Every
Yeah.
it's not as cookie cutter as it can be.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Did you recognize the voice of Khonshu?
I looked him up after the episode,
Oh
and I
yeah.
totally forgot who he was.
It's F. Murray Abraham, dude.
I don't know who that was. That's
Uh,
probably why I forgot it.
well, he's famous for playing Amadeus, or in Amadeus, he's Antonio Salieri. That's like where he got really famous. But he's been in a ton of other stuff. He's like in the Grand Budapest Hotel, Mighty Aphrodite, but like most recently, he's in Mythic Quest.
Okay, I don't watch. I know
He's
you watch Mythic Quest.
Oh,
So.
I love Mythic Quest. It's a great show, but like the funniest thing about Mythic Quest is they basically, the guys who did Sunny in Philadelphia just took the same formula but applied it to like a video game developing company. So like F. Murray Abraham, in the simplest and probably unfairest terms, he is the Danny DeVito of that show. They found the old actor who's been around for decades, and he would bring all the seasonedness
He brings the
to it.
the class, the
He brings
moms.
the class, yeah. And so like I really, when I heard the voice, I'm like, okay, not where I would have gone first, but the more and more I listened to it, the more I just loved it. Like I loved it because it almost had a Venom quality to it, right? Like the way
Yeah,
the way
I didn't love it. Well, I didn't hate it at first, but I didn't. I was kind of indifferent, but it kind of grew on me.
yeah, it grew on me too.
Like if I'm being honest, like if they gave Conchu an accent, I feel like that could have been weird. Like in depending on the accent, right? Like I see why they didn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you. I mean, does it help that he's part Syrian? Does that make it
That's
easier?
one
Like,
thing that stuck out when I did my research when I looked him up. And I'm
yeah,
like, okay, we're in the ballpark, but
yeah.
I like for not doing that. They picked a good voice for sure.
I mean, he was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Just to be clear,
Yeah,
he is very much an
but
American, but
I don't.
he does have ancestry that would be okay, I guess, if you're worried about redoing the Gods of Egypt scandal that was that movie with
God,
just casting a bunch of white people as Egyptians. At least this one is trying to
well, isn't
cast.
the director Egyptian?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, Mohammed Diab, I believe is his name. Yep, the director of the entire show, I believe, is Egyptian. That is correct. But yeah, no, I really dug this. There's a lot to still unpack. I feel like, or not unpack. There's a lot to see happen because the one thing I feel like we didn't get is a lot of other supporting characters.
Hmm.
Like I don't know the names of any of the other people that were just randomly in Steven's life. They seemed worthless. They seemed pointless to the later story.
Hmm.
There's like the guard who was super apathetic and just wanted to watch otter videos. There's his boss who's just a total b. She's just rude. There was the tour guide employee that he totally like stood
Oh
up
yeah, stood
on
up.
accident. Yeah, so I don't think those characters necessarily matter, and I think that was the point of this episode. Is just this episode is to focus on Steven so that we can bring in other characters because
Yeah.
they were hinting at other characters, right? Like the question
Or
is like
Layla.
he's yeah, there's a Layla, there's a Duchamp who is aka Frenchie, who's kind of like his Alfred. He's kind
Hmm.
of like his Alfred. Uh and then we need to know more about the supposed villain Arthur Harrow. By the way, I looked him up. He's got Marvel fans just completely going insane right
Yeah, I
now.
couldn't find anything that he's. It
He
seems like
is
he's based on the sun god.
he's from one comic ever in 1985. He's this guy that's like a researcher who specialized in pain tolerance. But like the thing is, there's no way he's just that one shot character from 1985. So people are speculating that he's something else, and kind of like Whiplash was in Iron Man 2 was actually the fusion of like two Marvel
Yeah.
characters in the comics. So people are speculating things like, I mean, I've heard speculations. People are saying he's Dracula, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think he's Dracula, but uh, they're going all over the place with trying to figure out who he
He
is.
totally judged the shit out of that old lady.
Did he do it or did the tattoo do it? You know what I mean?
I mean, we don't know. We don't know what his power is, right? Like he,
Yeah,
he has a cool tattoo.
but he seems to be very gator themed. But then the creature that he summoned was a jackal type creature.
We don't see a
So
gator. I watched Crocodile Hunter. Like gators don't chase you.
or sorry, not gator. I guess they're crocodiles
Crocodile, yeah, they're.
in
Mhm.
Egypt, right? Yeah. They would be crocodiles. But yeah, I did notice some little things that speaking of gators that little changes from the trailers to the show. So in the trailer, when they show him finding that cell phone that was hidden in his apartment,
Yeah.
and when he opens it and looks like he's gonna call or
Oh,
he
the
gets that call,
screensaver.
the screen is a gator
Yeah.
or a crocodile. Sorry, I guess it's a
Mm.
crocodile. And I can't, and he keeps saying later gators every time he's like says bye to
Late
his
a
mom
gate.
on the yeah. Um, do you think he's leaving voicemails, right? To nobody. He's leaving voicemails. I don't think he's actually having conversations
No,
with somebody on
I don't think he is, and like he's getting postcards from her, right?
somebody from somebody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like that's Mark sending him the postcards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Just like Mark probably went and bought him a new fish.
I think the big question is like, why does Mark need Steven? I think you touched on earlier. Like, what does
Right.
Steven bring to the table?
Yeah.
Um,
So, well, I mean, clearly Stephen knows a lot about Egyptian history,
yeah.
or at least Egyptian myths, I guess.
Hmm.
So but yeah, I think that's the interesting thing, and I think that's what makes it fun for everybody is we all get to see it through the eyes of Steven, which is something that even the comic fans are not really fully used to because like he's not necessarily the focal point. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I it was hurting me that the episode ends with the first actual
with it ends with
sight.
Moon Knight.
It ends with Moon Knight. It just ends with you seeing Moon Knight for the first
It's like,
time. You know
okay,
what I mean?
like, all right, the suit. That's the suit.
Yeah,
He,
you get
he
to
looks
see
like a Moon Knight,
you get to see Khonshu a few times throughout the episode, and he's like this weird, scary,
like
like
bird
god
dude.
with a bird. Yeah,
Yeah.
Khonshu is actually a falcon in
Okay.
Egyptian lore,
Okay.
but
He's a bird.
that beak was way bigger than a falcon sometimes, depending on the angle that you saw him at. But who knows? Whatever. It's a bird. It's a bird
Well,
head.
I think it's safe to say that we will be watching more Moon Knight.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, how would you recommend it though? Like, do you think that this is for anybody, or do you think it's for people who've been following the MCU, or what? Like,
I mean, if you've been following the MCU, it's like the must watch, right? Like everything they put out is a
mhm.
you have to. It's just you have to keep the train rolling. But I was showing this to my partner, and she seemed to enjoy. I think the mystery there that's inherently with that character, the way they're presenting him, it's intriguing. So if you like a
Yeah,
little mystery,
yeah.
you
I
know,
kind of think it's a great jumping on point for anybody who's never done the MCU. You know what I mean? Like,
mhm.
I know obviously that's kind of blasphemous because at some point they're gonna start. You know, eventually Moon Knight's gonna be in Avengers 6 or something like that, and you're gonna be like,
the the
what's going on here? You know?
the thing that I'm the big get I'm getting, or the big thing I'm thinking is going to happen is there will be a werewolf by night in this season in some capacity, because it's like the biggest not in secret that they're working on a werewolf by night or Halloween special, right?
Right, but I don't know that it needs to have a werewolf by night in this, in because we got a jackal. Like, you
But
think we're
if not him, like I don't think they can resist not having a soon to be character or existing character play with Moon Knight in some capacity.
maybe, but at the same point, like at the same token, like I kind of dig that we're having
No,
Moon
I'm
Knight
on board that we're just
fight
having Moon Knight
Egyptian
having
gods.
fighting a beating the jackal in a bathroom is pretty cool.
Yeah, an Egyptian jackal god in a bathroom. Yeah, like or whatever it was, or a
Not
lesser
fighting,
god. Or
just beating.
yeah, he
Like
beat the crap
Moon
out of
Knight's
that
pretty
thing.
OP in that 10 seconds that we
Yeah.
get him in.
I know definitely in the trailer we thought that was him fighting a werewolf, and that is clearly not him fighting a
No.
werewolf. And so that's what I really love is that the trailer showed us a lot, but it didn't show us anything at the same time. And so it was really fun to get through so much of that in the first episode. And now I just have no freaking idea what I'm going to see next week. But it did kill me that we only got one episode this week. That was really painful because I know,
You gotta sync it up, right? This lines
yeah,
up with Doctor Strange.
yeah, the cool thing is, yeah, this is going to end the same week as Doctor Strange. So we're going to do another double feature, and we're going to make our guests definitely go watch both for that week.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
happening.
Clark episode for sure.
No, that's a Travis episode.
That's a Travis episode.
Yeah, Travis is already committed to both.
um,
So don't get ahead of the schedule, Ricky. Uh, but
I
yeah,
don't know.
I think I'm comfortable with this. I don't think anybody in the audience has any questions on Moon Knight right now at this point, but we'd be happy to answer them, or we can always. The cool thing about this is we don't have to be done with it because we can do it again next week. And so, any fun facts that we had last week still apply next week, so we can bring
Yeah,
them up. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with everybody. But I think we should probably say fair warning to everybody. We're going to probably stop doing the Moon Knight talk now. And we're going to talk about this other
yeah.
Marvel thing that
The
came
other
out this
piece
week.
of Marvel M content released this week in the form of Morbius.
All right, spoiler warning again. If you're still here, we're talking about Morbius now.
I mean, if you're still
It's
here, you're not watching Morbius today.
yeah, exclusively in theaters, as that little poster said. Uh, Storyline synopsis: dangerously ill with a rare blood disorder and determined to save others suffering his same fate, Dr. Michael Morbius attempts a desperate gamble. What at first appears to be a radical success soon reveals itself to be a remedy potentially worse than the disease. The guy turns himself into a
Ooh.
freaking vampire. Okay, and that's Morbius. He's from Spider-Man comics. He's a pretty big part of Marvel lore. He's actually, I don't know if you know, but he's actually the guy responsible for Blade too.
Is he really?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know
he
that.
is. Yeah, he is the guy
Is he a
responsible for Blade.
Blade villain or like who?
Yes.
Okay, but
All.
Morbius is more anti-hero, right, in the comics?
Uh, Morbius is a vigilante at some point, but I mean, he does have a habit of drinking people's blood. So what
Yeah.
are you gonna do? But yeah, no.
I mean,
I
like, this
I
movie
want you
finally
to tell
came
me.
out, right? Like,
Yeah, you talk about this movie because I'm gonna shit on it so hard when it's my turn.
okay, so I I'm happy the movie came out. It's been a while. We got the trailer. Put it this way: Sonic the Hedgehog 1 came out, and then a sequel is about to come out in the span of this whole movie coming out from its first trailer, right? Like, it's been a minute since we first saw Morbius step on the scene. And you know what? It was fine. It, like, I know my bar for quality is very different from Dennis's bar quality. Watching this movie is what I would consider professional courtesy because we do this show. But I didn't hate it. I don't really know Morbius. I don't really care about Morbius. Um, I went in and I'm like, okay, that looks like Morbius. I think he's doing Morbius things. Oh, cool. Yeah, he's fighting. He's a vampire. Yeah. All right. Oh, Michael Keaton. Sure. Okay. And end the movie. And you know what? I'm happy I saw it. I don't necessarily think I need to see it again. I don't want to see it again. But you know what? As someone who enjoys comic book movies, this is just another one of those. And if you like comic book movies, go watch it. If you don't like comic book movies, probably not the one for you.
I'm curious.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of the character named Morbius, who was your favorite character?
In the movie? In this movie?
Yeah, that is the movie we're talking about.
I like the nurse. Or not nurse, sorry, that's super sexy. I like the other doctor, Martine.
Oh, okay.
Is it Bancroft? Bancroft?
Nice.
Right?
And do you like her because she's the only one you can name?
No, I really liked her little character, especially after I just totally butchered her profession. Her little snide when the mercs come in and call her the help. I liked her little arc. And like, if I'm being honest, like I liked
What was her arc? What was her arc? I'm pretty curious. What was it?
She's there. She's reluctantly helping Michael, and
At no point did she seem very reluctant to be.
she decided to be on the run, with him and help him get his cure. I mean, it's not Shakespeare. Like, she is the love interest of Michael Morbius. That is her role in that movie.
Yeah.
She's gonna be back. She's a vampire now, right?
I guess so. Yeah. I think my big problem with every character in this movie outside of, and this is barely outside of my Morbius, is everybody was one note. Everybody had one motivation, and that was it.
Yeah, well, you have the bad guy.
With the exception of Michael, who had two motivations. One, find a cure for the blood disease. Two, do sweet ass origami. That was his two things. Those were his two things. And honestly, like, the origami thing was so insulting to me because it just rings of every time Sony does a superhero movie,
Hmm.
they think the best way to make you remember the characters is by giving them memorable quirks instead of actually making the characters real people. You know what I mean? Like, we just got done talking about Moon Knight for like a half an hour and how much we were very interested in everything going on with Steven, in that show. Moon Knight, or I mean, sorry, Morbius literally just shows you origami over and over so that you can remember that he's not just about curing this blood disease. But who is he as a person? I didn't really
I
get
think I got
anything.
a good sense of, like, he wants to do good for the world, right?
Why
They
why
show
did
him
he turn down the Nobel Prize?
because he saw it as like a farce. Like, it was a sham. Like, it wasn't really
Do you know how much funding his colleagues and hospital would have gotten if he just accepted the award?
a lot. But
They could
Morbius
ha-
has higher
they
standards.
they could help cure all the patients in that hospital.
I don't think he could help cure all those patients.
You think you think giving hospitals money doesn't help? Like,
He just said, I thought all the people in the hospital had the same condition as he did, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay, then
I don't
yes,
think
that
no,
money would have helped.
I don't think that girl that he was treating had the same condition that he did.
Mm.
Anyways, I was just I got shades of a character from him, and I think that's what was really annoying. Is because when you go see a movie called Morbius, like, and you don't know who Morbius is, it
Hmm.
would be nice by the end of it that I knew who he was as a person. But like, he was so morally ambiguous through that whole thing that he was actually comfortable justifying murdering his 8 employees on that boat as long as he never did it again. And you know what I mean? Like, and then to even make it weirder, in that post credits you were referring to, then to have a random person dressed up in a vulture suit sew up and say, I think we should team up because we could do some good together. And he's like, I'm listening. Why? I don't understand
I mean, at
morally
that
where
point,
this guy is.
you're already in the deep at that point, right? Like,
His
sure,
character
Vulture dude.
his character just hurt my soul to watch because I didn't understand his motivations outside of this cure. And 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 it was the science of it was really hard too, because
Hmm.
like I did appreciate one specific thing, was that when they successfully tested the new serum on a mouse and they thought it was a failure because it looked like the mouse died, and then the mouse got back up, right?
Yeah.
I liked that the next step was not, all right, let's put it in people, right? No, the next scene is, let's put it in people, but then he says after 247 successful tests, right? And so you're like, okay, you did science. You didn't just test this on one
I
mouse.
like though that, like, all right, as soon as the mouse worked, he's like, okay, I got to go offshore because, like, I
Yeah,
can't
no,
do this
he
shit here.
he understood what he was going to do was shady as hell, but I still appreciated that he had planned it out, he had thought it out, right?
Hmm.
And he had tested on 247 other mice, or 246 other mice,
mice,
right?
mice murder.
But here's where the science falls apart. Are you telling me that you tested this on 247 mice, and the only thing you were looking for was, did they get back up after it looked like they died? Or did you ever bother to notice that all of those mice only wanted to eat blood from then on out? You know what I mean? Like, that was so weird that he would just like be so drastically different than from what happened in the mice. You
I
know what I
wouldn't.
mean?
I think you're nitpicking a little bit there. Like, it's
I'm nitpicking. I
that
understand that
it's
they have.
all just like, what is Morbius's or comic origin? Like, is it the same thing? He eats a vampire bat. Like, what
he
is he?
just he does not eat a vampire bat. It is some crazy sciency thing, but like, I think my problem I'm having with it is, all the science stuff
Mhm.
that happened in old school 1960s, 70s, 80s comics. Uh, they're all ridiculous, and they're written by people who are not smart enough to actually understand the science of
Yeah.
anything, right? But like, the problem is like the we're in 2022. Information's a lot more readily available. So you either have to do one of two things. You have to have smarter people write it, or you have to be more ambiguous about the science. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
the Incredible Hulk defies science entirely. Like I would never argue that he's a scientifically accurate character. I don't even understand
Well,
how the
I would put
hell.
Hulk in like the Supermans, the Batmans, where I think it's just intrinsic to American society that we all just know where the Hulk comes from. Like it's
Right, but we don't understand. Like we don't even. I'm not saying that's fine. I'm saying, but
mhm.
like, but at the same time, they knew that it was too hard to explain it when they did the version with the 2008 version with Ed Norton.
Yeah,
So instead of even bothering to explain it, they just show it in
this
the montage of the credits. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because the credits was way easier way to explain it.
like
But
Spider-Man, like the new ones, like they don't.
yeah, because
Yeah,
certain ones it's easier, like, and so I feel like the problem with this movie is it takes like a full on like half the movie to get you to experiment to Morbius. And the problem with that is you're halfway through and you only have, a short amount of time left to resolve the story. So what is the story you want to tell? What do you who do you want to speak to? What are you trying to say? And I don't think this movie had anything to say other than here's a character that may one day fight Spider-Man if we can figure out how to make that work. Like,
I'll disagree. I thought he became Morbius. That whole first act moved pretty quick. Like it literally opens with him getting the bats. Like
no,
I
I'm
think
saying he's not flying until like an hour into the movie or something like that. You know what I mean? So he's not fully doing all Morbius
no, he
things
does. He
until.
does the yeah. You're correct. You're on that point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But
He's not doing all the things until like way later. And it's about the same journey as we had with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, in like
mhm.
2001. Uh but that doesn't necessarily cut it anymore because
It kind of falls in the case where it's like this movie is here so to set up three other movies in a weird way, right?
exactly.
Versus
Yeah.
kind of doing its own thing and then being connected. So it kind of falls in that trap. Um, because there's little. I mean, they this is the Venom universe. They make that clear in this movie. Like this is the same. This is a New York and Venom's in San Fran, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, so they're
Yes.
clearly setting up their Sinister Six without a Spider-Man. Whatever they're gonna do with it, and I feel like the Morbius, like it almost feels. I was gonna equate it something for DC, but I can't think of the DC movie it reminds me of. But it's like you get at the end, like okay, it's all connected, and you lose. I think you lose making a better Morbius movie, but
Yeah.
I'll go out on a limb and say that I don't think. I think the going into this, people were very negative about this movie. Like, so for it to turn out the way it did, like I said, it's mediocre. I don't think it's like bad.
So here's my problem with mediocrity.
Hmm.
I think that mediocrity is worse than being laughably bad.
Hmm.
Like I like Venom because it's laughably bad. It's almost like it's like Sharknado, you know what I mean? Like people love Sharknado because Sharknado knows how bad Sharknado is. You know what I mean? That's kind of how Venom is, right? Is it's knowing it's in on the gag. It
Is
knows that
it?
it knows that it's being silly when it's being silly. It absolutely knows it's being
Yeah.
silly. You know what I mean? Morbius doesn't know that it's silly.
It's played in a much more serious tone.
It's a serious tone, but it's
I don't think
it's
Jared Leto could do silly.
yeah. And it goes to prove that because like some of the sillier things that are in the trailers were cut from the movie. like him saying, when they say the famous, every superhero story has a "Who are you?" moment, and in the trailer he says, "I'm Venom." It's like, no, I'm kidding. I'm just Dr. Michael Morbius at your service. The movie decides to cut the last part of that joke and just do the "I'm Venom." And you're like, wait, what? Do you are you are you being
After he
funny?
breaks this dude's
After he
fingers.
breaks this guy's fingers. Yeah, exactly. And so like I'm like, are you being funny? Or are you just reminding audiences that this exists in the same universe as Venom? Are you legitimately trying to blame Venom for this so that maybe there's a tie in? But you know what I mean? Like it just raised so many questions instead of me just having it never gave me a moment to just laugh at the ridiculousness of it all.
Mhm.
And um, I think there's a pressure release that has to happen in stories like this, where every now and then you have to like turn the valve and let off some steam for a
Let
second.
out the funny.
Yeah, let out something so that we can continue to
Mhm.
enjoy it. But because there was no peaks and valleys in this movie, it was just a straight line the whole way through from beginning to end. It's just like, okay, I have a blood disease. I got a friend who's got a blood disease. I'm gonna go
Well,
do science to learn how to fix blood disease.
let me throw this at you. So there's gonna be more Morbius in the future, in some capacity, if they continue down this Sinister Six goal that they're trying to get to.
Yeah,
Do you think with more comparable direction that you could grow to like a Morbius in a sequel? Like, do you? Well, I mean, throw it on top of that. Do you like Jared Leto as an actor?
I like Jared Leto as an actor sometimes.
Okay.
I think he's got. I think he doesn't. What I'm trying to say? I know Frank said he needs to get a better agent. That was Frank's joke, but I don't think it's about that. It's just that I think Jared Leto uh, puts a little too much trust in directors and editors
Hmm.
that you know what I mean. Like I like the editing, I think, is what ends up killing him in this movie because I want to believe there's a lot of stuff that was filmed that would, because movies are always filming a lot of stuff that it's like, B-roll or C-roll, just stuff to like establish character. And I think that they were just in such a rush to do a concise story that they left out the parts that I need in a story, which is like,
Hmm.
I know you're not trying to say he's a superhero, but you're not saying that either. And so it would help if you at least showed this character doing heroic things.
Well, I
You know what I
liked my
mean?
one of my favorite scenes of that whole movie is when he goes on a walk with Milo in the when he asks for the money in the park, and it shows them both. They're both walking in the streets of New York.
Oh man, that was so hard for me to watch them do their walks. Like that as a disabled man, I did not enjoy watching Matt Smith and Jared Leto just gimp it up
They
all
went
the way to
full. They
Central
went
Park.
full, and
It was just not comfortable for me to watch. Yeah. Couldn't you guys have taken a cab? Like, I don't know, man. Like, it was just too
I like the
much.
dialogue in that scene a lot.
I don't
Um,
remember the
their
dialogue
their
really.
little friendship, and they kind of they loop back on their childhood, and they make jokes.
I think the
Um,
problem I had with it is we didn't, like I said before, they didn't allow it to breathe. So, like, I didn't get to see a childhood where they were best friends. All I got to see was him, Lucian, show up and then be told his new name is Milo, and then fast forward to that's my best friend, and they're like,
yeah, they
what?
definitely
Like
gloss over that.
they gloss over it, and the only thing they choose to show you is after
Mhm.
Morbius gets shipped off to go to do schooling. Then you see the dark side of Milo, and he clocks a kid in the face with a crutch. You know what I mean? And you're like, okay, I don't know, that was still kind of self defense, but whatever, it's fine.
Well, do you
But
like?
like
Do you think? Well, yeah, like with direction though, do you think we could course correct this Morbius?
there are things that can be course corrected, but they've already started off in a way that it's not direction that's going to fix Morbius, it's writing. And
Mhm.
I don't think they ever hire writers that are capable of doing this as well as the MCU does. And that's the problem. Like the end of this movie was such garbage where it's like we're like, let me just walk you through how bad the ending of this movie was. It's so after Morbius has flown away because he defeated the evil vampire and he needs to get away from all the police, and he flies away in his giant bat you know collage or whatever. Cut to credits, Morbius, and then next thing you know, cut to city of New York, establishing shot, nighttime, purple sky opens up, and it's very similar looking to the what we saw at the end of No Way Home. And then cut to prison cell, empty prison cell. Suddenly, Michael Keaton magically appears, and he says, "I hope the food's better in this joint." Like, okay, that's already a really badly written line for somebody who clearly just got transported magically into another place. But whatever, I guess he's fine with that. Cut to next shot, news footage saying, or a newscaster saying, "Oh, the Manhattan Detention Center is reporting that a man mysteriously appeared in an empty cell, and they're rushing to have a hearing to have him released immediately." Okay, I mean, just sure. I guess you're just gonna let this guy go.
Like the problem there is, oh no, this supposedly innocent man's in a cell, not the fact that the sky was purple.
Not the fact that the sky's falling and then a man just magically appeared in a room. Whatever. And then cut to next scene. Michael Morbius is driving a super fancy car out to a desert at 2:21 in the morning, and then he pulls over and stands around and waits, and then all of a sudden, somehow, the Vulture in full Vulture gear flies up and introduces himself. And I've already kind of talked about the stupid stuff that happens after that. But what I'm having a problem with is everything that we were shown right up to that point is only shitting on Doctor Strange more. Because one, it's saying, okay, you know how he was pretty certain he was going to get this spell right the second time around? Nah, he didn't. Somehow he did weird shit where he actually sent people from this universe to other universes. Two, not only did he do that, he still definitely made them realize that the reason they're there is because of Spider-Man. And three, he actually airmailed them their crazy Chitauri Tech Vulture suit.
I feel like he had to build the suit because, right?
It's made of Chitauri
No,
Tech.
well, that's where I was. That's where I was getting at. I don't know how he made it.
He didn't build it. It was the Tinkerer built it. Yeah, he can't have built. That's the exact same suit.
No, it's a little different.
No, it wasn't. That was the same suit.
It has to be a little. I would almost guarantee it's a little. But I don't think he had to have made it. There.
But he doesn't have the ability to do that.
You know, and I'm not arguing the scene's stupid. I'm just saying I feel like he made that there. But irregardless, like, it's a stupid scene.
But what I'm saying is there's so many logical jumps that we had to get to, and then finally the last jump is, hey, for some reason Morbius should team up with this guy. And it's like, and after that guy just got done blaming it on Spider-Man, Morbius has no context who or what a Spider-Man is. So he has no reason to give a crap about any of what he's saying. We do know that. There is no Spider-Man yet.
We don't know that there is no Spider-Man yet.
Yes, we do know that there is no Spider-Man yet because Sony desperately wants to fix that.
There is no Spider-Man cast yet in that universe.
There ain't no Spider-Man yet, dude. You know it. And you know how else I know it? They got rid of the freaking alleys that had the Spider-Man graffiti. They cut that out of the movie too. The only thing that exists,
the whole movie's a mess.
The only thing that exists is the Daily Bugle in both universes. And this Daily Bugle is not even being run by J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, it's
Like,
paper.
it's weird. It's so weird. So like, I just have a problem with the fact that like they're like, the audiences will be fine with this, like, and that's how I felt with the whole movie. Is why do we need to write it better? They're gonna be fine with this, and I felt like insulted by that movie because they didn't feel the need to try harder with any of it, any of the writing. And so like my biggest problem with Morbius, aside from excuse me, the bad writing, is they did the cop out. Um, they let Jared Leto's face change back whenever he felt like it.
Is that how the
That's not
Morbius? Okay.
no. That's why Morbius is a monster. Once he changes, it sucks. You know when he does get it changed back? When he bites Spider-Man. Something about Spider-Man's blood allows Morbius to heal and become better again. To the point where, like, obviously it's a driving force for him to go eat more Spider-Man later. But, eventually Spider-Man, like he always does, he tries to help people that he can. They help come up with a cure so that he can revert back. But
I did like the. I'll say I like the Morbius face, whatever tech they're using. I thought it was pretty good. It felt pretty seamless when he would switch back and forth, but
it felt gross because I'm like, how are your teeth doing that? Like, I thought this was science. This is science, and I don't understand how your teeth keep turning into like Bilbo from like Lord of the Rings. Like when you snatch a
it was all
ring
the
from him.
bats. It's the bats.
Oh man, that was hurting. That was hurting. It, like, and same with Matt Smith's character. I'm just like, guys, pick a face and go with it. Like, but to your credit, I did like the face when they chose to use it. I didn't like that they chose to use it at certain times though. That was weird. Like, it just felt like, stick with it. Stick with the face. I was all on board.
It was confusing.
Jared Leto doing that face for the rest of the movie.
And the blood is what kept them not looking like that. The fake blood, right? Or I guess blood in general kept
blood,
them looking fresh.
Yeah. Kept
them Jared Leto. But then at the end, for some reason, when he eats the blood, that's what makes him turn like. I think it was super unclear on like, can he just choose to be Morbius when he wants to be Morbius? If he's fully blooded up, or is the lack of blood makes him Morbius?
That's what was very confusing about the whole movie. The other thing that was really confusing is like they randomly tossed in that he also created synthetic blood and that helped millions and millions of people around the world. But like, my thing is,
you'd be kind of rich if you did that.
Yeah, right. My thing is it really synthetic blood if you even say like, well, one, it's blue, and there's no good reason that synthetic blood should end up being a different color than real blood.
Oh, I would make it blue if I made fake blood, 100% blue.
It's not a choice, Ricky, is what I'm saying. It's like, if it ends up having the properties of blood, it's probably going to be red. But that aside, if it's so not as good as the real thing that the vampire is immediately rejecting it and saying it's only a matter of time before this fake stuff doesn't work, then what's happening to your patients that are using it out there in the world, man? Like, synthetic blood is supposed to be a substitute so that you never have to go back. That's, like the idea of synthetic food. We make synthetic food so that we don't have to put as much of a strain on kidneys, farmers and stuff like that.
Kidneys will cycle it out, right? Like,
then you made bad synthetic blood, bro. Like, and you should not probably be distributing that to everybody in the world.
I mean, I'm not going to comment on the FDA situation in the Venomverse, but
I'm just saying it's bad synthetic blood, and like, it's like my big problem is that's your moral dilemma. Your moral dilemma is, I don't know what I'm gonna do once this stuff stops working. And I'm like, maybe spend the movie figuring that out so that that's the central conflict of your character, and we're not wondering where you're going to go with that next time. You know what I mean? Like, I would have appreciated if he had learned, you know, maybe feeding on bad guys is the way to go. Like,
Yeah.
it would have been more
Like
compelling of a
I didn't
story.
mind him, like the boat scene. I thought that was pretty cool. It's like I was like, man, these are innocent people, but that's totally what would happen if
But like that was those were his employees, man, and like even the FBI agents were justifying it. We could see how you could get away with this, but the nurse, I'm like, wait, you're what do you mean get away with this? The 8 people were his employees who were hired to provide him protection in case pirates boarded their ship. Just because one of them's a misogynist doesn't mean he should die along with all of his friends.
makes it a little easier.
Oh my god, the lengths they went to make that guy food were so ridiculous. I couldn't handle it. It was so dumb. That was just the worst. But then yeah, and then I felt like we weren't even given a chance to like speculate whether or not did Morbius kill the nurse too? Like no, he didn't. We missed the scene where the dude grabbed the serum, but for some reason this movie wants us to believe that Morbius has some sense of morality, even though the rest of the movie will not in any way ever actually support that claim. So whatever. But he liked Martine, so there you go. He liked that girl. Ricky tuned out. He's done. Wait, I think Ricky actually froze. Oh, I guess he did. Well, there you go. That was me being more polite about uh, Morbius than I ever meant to. I'm not sure where Ricky went, but he definitely is gone. And it's probably time to end the show soon. So I appreciate anybody who stuck around to listen. Um, Morbius, I recommend it. If you,
I I tripped the power switch on my computer.
nice, excellent. No, I was making my point, and then I realized Ricky's just not even there anymore. But anyways, yeah, I hated that movie because of its mediocrity. I'd rather watch a movie like Sharknado and be entertained because at least I'm in on the
You
joke.
can 100% wait for it to show up on Stars. Um, but if you got nothing else to watch in the movies, as the world slowly opens up, maybe give Morbius a shot.
Or don't, or just
Yeah.
don't. Yeah. But I'm glad that you found a way to enjoy it. As somebody who knows that character from my Spider-Man comics and Spider-Man cartoons, and a little bit of
I
Blade
like your
here and there.
Morbius toy, the one with the weird mouth.
Oh yeah, I do. I do have several Morbius toys. I forgot to pull them out for this episode. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually like Morbius the character more than Moon Knight, and so that's why this movie hurt me more than I wanted.
Now, if you would have had the leotard, would you have liked it a little bit better?
I don't need the leotard. It's not the suit that I needed. In fact, I really like the jacket with the purple highlights because that's a nod to his second costume. He is like a '90s like really emo look when he was a vigilante, and that was a really good nod to it. It's just I really hated that his face kept changing back to normal, old Jared Leto, whenever it was
Hey
convenient
man,
to.
they paid a lot of good money for that face.
And I also don't understand what the particle effects were going on that character all the time.
Yeah, that was the weird thing.
Did they look cool? Yes. Was there science involved in why he was doing that?
For
No.
a movie focused on the science of it all, it was super weird that they never explained what
and that's what I'm saying. The problem
what
I
the
had
thing
with
is
the
for.
movie is they spent way too much time on the science.
Oh, this
and
dude
then,
looks
and
like
then,
full Janet Jackson with that purple
yeah,
thing.
yeah, he does. But so it just ended up being boring to me and not having anything to say. But that's just me. Ricky liked it, so
Mm-hmm.
it's a coin flip. That's our review of Morbius. My official review of Morbius is go watch Moon Knight.
Who knows? Maybe Morbius will show up there.
Yeah, but I was actually just getting ready to sign off the show when you came back. And so I was just going to let people know to check back with us next week when our guest Clark will be here to discuss episode 2 of Moon Knight and the latest news. Also thanks to Ricky for nerding out with me today and holding it down since we didn't have a Frank or other guests. And thanks to our Patreons for supporting our growth and to our audience for tuning in. If you had fun, what can they do, Ricky?
Like and subscribe, DanX Media on all the socials. You can also follow us on patreon.com/DanX Media. You want to kick us a few bucks and listen to the soapbox early.
Yeah. No soapbox this week, but
no soapbox this week.
There's still like 50 other episodes you can go watch.
No, we might do a little WonderCon post. Who knows?
Maybe we'll see. We could at least go take pictures. But yeah, Ricky and I will go and see each other for the first time in this pandemic in a long time tomorrow. And so there'll probably be pictures of us on social media and whatever. But yeah, until next time, true believers, thanks for watching. Enough said.
See ya.